What's going on, fellas? Let me know if you can hear me. What's going on? So, I didn't jinx it. Um, okay, where do we even start? I mean, 5-2 is the score, but it easily could have been a lot worse. Um, that first half was so bad. The first half, Real Madrid was so bad. I'm actually surprised that we didn't concede more in that first half. The red card absolutely saved us. And yes, Mbappe played very well. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Mbappe, he looked like the best player in the world. Mbappe did. It's so sad that today was the game that Mbappe is like on fire and the rest of the team was absolute garbage. I think Carlo Ancelotti should be fired 100%. Lucas Vasquez is not good enough against any type of elite player. Any left winger, we saw what happened with him and Rafael Leao. Like, think about it. If you're a left winger, even if you're in bad form, you're not performing the best. And you look at the team sheet again, and you're playing against Real Madrid, and you see Lucas Vasquez, you're like, oh, I could turn things around now. I'm not on good confidence, but as long as I'm going against Lucas Vasquez, I know this is where I can turn things around. He got cooked so many times. But it's not just down to Lucas Vasquez, though. The tactics in this game were just Carlo Ancelotti had the team sit in a deep block. He wanted to kill them in transition, but you can't sit that deep. We scored early in the game and we sat deeper because we scored and we thought we could just sit there and sustain their pressure. You don't have the personnel to do that. The game against Manchester City, when we played at the Etihad, we had Tony Cruz who initiated all the ball progression. We had Lucas Vasquez, we had Danny Carvajal, who was a shutdown, one of the best right backs in the history of the game. It was a whole different setup against Manchester City. You could sit in a deep block in that game, but you didn't have the personnel in this one. To me, today, what I saw was Kylian Mbappe was on different smoke. But the truth of the matter is, Carlo Ancelotti put together the worst strategy known to mankind. He embarrassed Real Madrid. You cannot lose like this in a cup final. You can't lose to Barcelona twice in a row like this and retain your job. Look, this is something that, like, if you're Carlo Ancelotti, right, and you put together this game plan ahead of the game of how you want your team to play. Both Camavinga and Valverde today were not good, especially in that first half. They were awful. As soon as Luka Modric comes on the pitch and you have somebody who has some sort of quality with the ball at his feet, you see the difference that made. Luka Modric, you need somebody in the midfield who's going to lead some of this, the ball progression out of the back. So many times we're playing the ball long from the back, Rudiger, Tchouaméni. And by the way, this should be the nail in the coffin. Raul Asensio needs to start over Tchouaméni at center back. That needs to happen. He has no instinct for that position. I understand Carlo Ancelotti likes to have Tchouaméni in there and he trusts him more. But Raul Asensio, there's certain instinct that you have as a center back, and Tchouaméni doesn't have that instinct. But Lucas Vasquez at right back, there is no way you're winning a Champions League. There is no way you're winning any major trophy like the Champions League with Lucas Vasquez at right back. And the sad thing is, if our secondary option is Valverde, that is really troubling. That means you almost guarantee Dani Ceballos in the midfield. By the way, Dani Ceballos comes in, things improve. I agree. Dani Ceballos does he does pretty well with the cameo that he has, but the game was already lost at that point. Nobody's really pressuring the team. I don't trust Ceballos in games where we're playing away in the Champions League. Last year, if we had Ceballos away at the Etihad or away at the Allianz Arena against Bayern Munich or Manchester City, we're not winning. This was just like the teams that are beating Barcelona, Leganes, Las Palmas. They beat them on their 125th anniversary in their own ground. That's Barcelona was losing in their own ground to Las Palmas and Leganes. They're dropping points to pretty average sides. But you have Kylian Mbappe, who's on red hot form. Today, Mbappe was on different gravy. Both Mbappe and Vinicius got no service. And we have to say, although I'm not going to sit here and say that Vinicius is to blame and Vinicius was awful, but he didn't get a lot of the ball. He got hardly any service because our midfield, a couple of times, especially early on the game when we won the ball, Fede gave it back to them. And he played pretty poorly, if we're being honest. Like, Fede was awful today. Camavinga was awful today. And it's because the team lacked balance. And it's not all down to them. That's where Carlo Ancelotti is supposed to put together something with more balance in the team. And I don't know if that means for the time being, you have to force Modric into the team, because clearly Rodrigo was way better than Vinicius was. To me, Rodrigo today, I would prioritize him over Vinicius, not only because on the ball he was better than Vinicius, but like without the ball, the defensive work that Rodrigo was doing, Rodrigo was tracking back, he was fighting, he was trying to win the ball back all the time. But I know that's by design. I know Carlo Ancelotti wanted the team to be in a 4-4-2 without the ball, and he wanted them to be compact. But a lot of times what that meant was Balde was all the way on the wing with a ton of space. And every time that forced Lucas Vazquez to move inside, and then that they found players between those spaces. They found Rafinha, they found different players who made runs through those spaces to force us because they knew we were going to try to be compact. Sorry, Carlo Ancelotti was out coached today. And that's twice in a row. You faced Flick and you know what he's going to come at you with, and you lost to him twice in a row. This is troubling. Yes, Carlo Ancelotti is to blame, and I think Carlo Ancelotti should not retain his job. But also the board needs to give him the players that he needs. Raul Asensio definitely needs to start. Until, I don't know what that means. I don't know if when Eder Militao, you start Eder Militao. But there's no question that Tchouaméni doesn't have the defensive instinct. Carlo Ancelotti has talked about Tchouaméni when he's on the pitch. He gives you aerial presence that you need. And so from set pieces, he's a very important player. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that. Tchouaméni is important for that type of role. But that can't be... You need to have some sort of structure to your team. Even under Zinedine Zidane, there was more structure. Today, it looked like the days of Pep Guardiola, when Barcelona was at their very peak. I'm talking Neymar, Messi, the days of Ronaldinho and Messi, like when we were suffering during that era. That's what it looked like today. Carlo Ancelotti made Barcelona look so good today. It's because you cannot sit in a deep block. It's when you don't have the personnel. Against Manchester City, when we did sit in a deep block away at the Etihad, when we went in with that 1-1 with the 3-3 draw from the first leg, we played with five we've played with five in the back. We played a 5-4-1 because what was clear is Manchester City, you need to have more width. And today we played with four in the back, and Barcelona took advantage of that. They placed their fullbacks pretty high up the pitch, not what's his name, Koundé, because they knew Koundé had to sit a little deeper to cover Vinicius. But Balde knew he could push higher up the pitch, and he took advantage of that. And Rafinha found those spaces between Lucas Vazquez and Tchouaméni. And that's just not good enough. Real Madrid is taking players. Lucas Vazquez is a right back. He's a right winger. Tchouaméni is not a center back. And Real Madrid feels like they can just shuffle these guys, throw them in a team, and it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. But the truth of the matter is you need certain kinds of personnel that have the instinct for that position, who know what to look out for. Before this game, Real Madrid was playing pretty good. And if you looked at the blueprint of what happened in the first game, you would say to yourself, Real Madrid wasted so many opportunities in that first leg. In the first leg, Real Madrid wasted so many opportunities. So you thought to yourself, if Real Madrid could be more decisive with their opportunities, they should be able to kill these guys. But instead, what happened today is Real Madrid tried to sit in a deep block. They scored first, so they even sat even deeper. They tried to be compact with the ball. Every time we recovered it, there was no kind of urgency. And by the way, when we conceded that third goal, the heads dropped, and like there was absolutely no conviction within the players. Like they didn't believe that they could come back. And that's the thing that's sad, because what you see is when Real Madrid is losing a game under Carlo recently, what I've noticed, the post-Cruz era, when they don't have the ball, the players' heads drop. In their minds, they think to themselves, well, we're not touching the amount of energy and effort that it takes for us to recover the ball. The players know that they're already 2 goals down. So them just getting the ball and scoring an additional 2 goals without conceding, they don't believe that they can achieve that. So psychologically, when you sit in a deep block like that, you cannot concede 3 goals, like in the first half especially. The only time it makes sense is like you have the organization and you have the right plan in place, which clearly Carlo Ancelotti didn't have that tonight. Individual errors, yes. Can you say Lucas Vazquez is not good enough? Of course, Lucas Vazquez is not good enough. But it all comes down to Carlo Ancelotti as well. Let me read what you guys are also saying in the chat as well. Vinny needs to improve. Vinny in Saudi Arabia, this whole Supercopa, he's been awful. Against Mallorca, to me, I thought Vinicius was bad against Mallorca because of that whole Pablo Maffeo thing, because he was arguing with him. They were fighting. So in my mind, I was thinking to myself, oh, Vinicius had a really bad game against Mallorca, and it's because of this argument back and forth. Today, he played a couple of passes. But when Rodrigo went out to the left-hand side and Vinicius came out, drastically better with the ball carrying, with the running in behind, with creating opportunities. Today, if Vinicius didn't play today and you put Rodrigo there, arguably you could say, man, Vinicius was awful. I'm like, let's just keep it real. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means today he was awful, and he was awful against Mallorca too. And he just needs to hold himself accountable for that. And that happens. It's football. But let me quickly read through some of the comments as well. Camavinga played shit too. Camavinga was awful. He should have got a red card. The fact that Camavinga didn't get a red card, he clearly pulled him. And that should have been a red for us. We should have been down to 10 men, and it would have been absolute destruction. Let's not get this twisted. Like 5-2 is a very flattering scoreline. This is not good enough. I remember the days of Florentino Perez. There's no way a manager could keep their job after they lose like this, let alone in a cup final. I know this cup doesn't really matter like that. And we still have 15 Champions Leagues. Barca doesn't even have a fraction of what we have, and they never will. Barca will never catch up to Real Madrid. They'll never be on our level. That's a fact. But today was absolutely god-awful. But all I know is we're now approaching February, and this is where the important games are coming. And we have the big game against Salzburg in the Champions League, which we absolutely need to win. And if there's any silver lining, is the fact that none of our key players got injured. That was one of my biggest fears, is any of our key players, Mbappe, Vinicius. When Mbappe went down with that ankle, when he, what's her name? Kunde. When she stepped on Mbappe, I was worried. I felt like maybe Mbappe hurt his ankle. And every game that Mbappe has played really well, the game against Atalanta, he's, had come off with some sort of injury. But anyways, man, look, the thing is, I know for a fact that I would rather lose this game and win La Liga, because I know for a fact Barcelona is not going to win La Liga. That's for a fact. It's either between Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid. And I agree with what you're saying. Raul Asensio needs to start, just simply on the fact that if you take anything away from Barcelona, you take away the fact that these guys are homegrown talents, and they fight for the jersey, and they know how much it means to win any kind of Clasico. I know they're obsessed with us. Barcelona, that's literally their obsession is Real Madrid. They don't even care about winning titles. All they want to do is beat Real Madrid because they have nothing else going for them. But the point of the fact is that today Carlo Ancelotti's plan did not work. He put a very poor plan together, and I would love to hear the post press conference. Um, we got saved by that red card because it was not headed in the right direction. What was it? 80% possession that I heard? 80% possession for Barcelona in that first half? How is that acceptable that you sit with and then every single time Jude Bellingham was trying to press the ball, he had no support. Um I I don't think Real Madrid lost because I jinxed Real Madrid. Relax, Tank. I didn't jinx Real Madrid. They didn't talk to your boy Carlo, man. Talk to Carlo Ancelotti. I don't know what the hell he was thinking that he could put that sort of game plan and actually win a game. You're gonna sit in a deep block with a back four with Lucas Vasquez going up against Rafinha. I think I could cook this guy Lucas Vasquez. Honestly, if you can run, if you're fast and somewhat like athletic, you can school Lucas Vasquez. Why would I cry? I'm not crying. We have 15 Champions League, potentially 16 on the way. Everybody knows even when Real Madrid loses cups that don't matter, we still end up winning the big titles. So the Barca fans are welcome to celebrate this meaningless trophy. But what was the year when Barcelona actually won a Champions League? What is the last time? I'm trying to remember when is the last time that Barcelona won a Champions League. I remember I seem to recall Barcelona getting knocked out in the Champions League year after year, and your boy Messi said in front of the entire new camp that he was going to bring the title back. But Messi didn't bring any sort of Champions Leagues to Barcelona. And not just to mention that, Barcelona are selling Messi's locker. They're selling Messi's locker because they're bankrupt for like 200 grand or something. But yeah, good luck with things. But I will say this: Real Madrid needs to prioritize trying to find a solution for next season because we all know that Florentino Perez is not going to fire Carlo Ancelotti this season. But regardless if Carlo wins the Champions League, which is very plausible, we could end up winning major titles. La Liga, we're in the running for La Liga, the Champions League. If you can get Xabi Alonso, you go for Xabi Alonso. But Barcelona is still a trash club if we're keeping real. What is it? Asensio was wanted in the first playing formation. So Asensio to me, what I like about him is his aggression. And his physicality. Even you saw him get into Lewandowski. Bro, what's up with Lucas Vasquez like hugging up on the Barca players when we're losing by a big margin? What is that about? Like, these are not your friends, man. Like I miss the days when Real Madrid is losing a game and some of our players are getting red cards. We need a manager that has a system who can adapt like Xabi Alonso. So I'm gonna make a video actually about Xabi Alonso, and talk about how he actually, in many ways, the Xabi Alonso style, he likes a more vertical style, and he's less of a system manager. But I like the fact that he has a very direct way of playing Xabi Alonso, and I think he fits Real Madrid very well. But the only thing is, he uses the physicality of his players a lot. He relies on line breaking a lot. So a lot of his players, there's a big emphasis in Xabi Alonso's team on playing with more width and more verticality. But if you look at the running stats and numbers for the Bayer Leverkusen team, you're going to see Real Madrid players run a lot more. And then that's something that gets understated in this whole thing is Real Madrid, the players don't run as much. And that's because Carlo is trying to preserve them and keep them healthy for the latter stages of the season. But Florentino Perez, I saw your comment about Real Madrid not winning the Champions League. And I think we can still win the Champions League. For whatever reason, this team, Carlo Ancelotti against Flick, Flick has gotten the best out of him. He's 0-2. And again, when Xavi was the manager of Barcelona, in the beginning, Xavi was getting the best out of Carlo. But towards the end, Carlo figured out how to play against Xavi. Of course, Barcelona sort of imploded, but we've seen this before where other managers have come in and done well against Carlo earlier on, and then Carlo has outlasted them, and then they've ended up getting sacked. You don't have to check me. I'm good, man. The team I support is the greatest team in the world. So, and that's not going to change anytime soon. It just, to me, if I'm any team seeing what I saw today from Kylian Mbappe, you see that he's the most dangerous and deadly forward in Europe. This, aside from the defeat, I think Real Madrid fans should be encouraged from what they saw from Kylian Mbappe. But would you rather lose like this in the Supercopa against a scrub team in a final that doesn't matter? Or would you rather lose in a Champions League knockout stage game and then we don't end up winning major trophies? I would much rather take this loss in this game than take this loss against, let's say, Bayern Munich in the Champions League, or like a real team, that actually wins, has prestige in Europe. But Real Madrid will be back as always. Still the greatest club in the world. Everybody knows that. But Barca fans are obsessed with Real Madrid is obsessed with the Champions League, and Barcelona is obsessed with Real Madrid. Everybody knows that. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to see. If you guys want me to do more of a breakdown of this video, I mean, I think all of us just kind of want to forget about it because that was a disaster class. And let's hope when we wake up in the morning, we wake up to news that Real Madrid have appointed a new manager. That would be fantastic. But you all the Madridistas, you support the greatest football club in the world, and that's not changing anytime soon. Because if you take Barcelona's Champions League titles and you multiply it by 3, so if you 3x it, that's where then you get Real Madrid's Champions League titles. But I find it, but yeah, they're more than welcome to sit there and try to compare themselves with the greatest club in the world. But that's all I got for this one. I have a lot of really exciting stuff coming up that I can't even tell you guys about. It's a surprise that I have over the next 2 weeks, some content that I've spent a lot of money on, thousands of dollars to put this stuff together. I hope you guys really enjoy it. But thank you all for coming in here. But I appreciate all of you. And Real Madrid will be back. They can have this meaningless trophy. Carlo Ancelotti had a very poor plan tonight. And now, at least I hope the board can see that you cannot go into the latter stages of the Champions League with Lucas Vazquez as your right back. And clearly, Carlo Ancelotti is not the man for the future for this club. He's just not. And that's that. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.